Oh, McQueen. Crazy McQueen. McQueen and I got along pretty good. McQueen looked at me kind of like an older brother.
What if I told you that behind James Garner's charming smile and Steve McQueen's cool swagger, a Hollywood rivalry was boiling that almost tore apart one of the greatest war films ever made? For decades, Garner kept this story locked away, but when the truth finally surfaced, it stunned fans everywhere. Stick with me, because what Garner revealed about McQueen will change the way you see both men forever. James Garner wasn't just another Hollywood leading man, he was a survivor. Before he ever set foot on a movie set, Garner endured a childhood that would have broken most people. Born James Scott Bumgarner in Oklahoma in 1928, his early years were scarred by loss, poverty, and abuse. His mother tragically died when he was only 5. His father, overwhelmed and struggling to provide, remarried, but instead of stability, young James was met with cruelty. He later described his stepmother as the meanest woman alive, recalling how she humiliated him and even beat him with tree branches. By 14, Garner had endured enough. He fought back during one violent incident, forever changing the trajectory of his life. But it was resilience that defined him. Garner worked odd jobs, tried the Merchant Marines, cut short by seasickness, and even modeled underwear before being drafted into the Korean War. There, he earned not 1 but 2 Purple Hearts, though he rarely bragged about his heroism. In fact, one strange quirk, his complete aversion to garlic, may have saved his life. When his unit's food was poisoned, Garner avoided the meal entirely because of its garlic content. On another night, the faint scent of garlic in the air tipped him off to enemy soldiers nearby, allowing his unit to prepare an ambush. From hardship to heroism, James Garner was already living a story worthy of Hollywood before his career even began. Garner's break came almost by accident. A talent agent noticed something special about him and urged him to try acting. At first, he laughed it off, but when he finally gave it a shot, audiences fell in love. By 1957, Garner landed the role that made him a household name, Brett Maverick, the sly, charming gambler in the hit Western Maverick. His charisma, wit, and effortless screen presence carried the show to massive success. But Hollywood isn't always kind to its stars. When a writer's strike brought production to a halt, Warner Brothers used it as an excuse to cut Garner loose, even though he was their biggest star. Instead of backing down, Garner fought back, suing the studio for breach of contract, and in a shocking twist, he won. That victory set him apart not just as a star, but as a man who refused to be controlled by Hollywood power players. Little did he know, though, that his biggest test of willpower wouldn't be with a studio, it would be on the set of a film destined to become a classic. By the early 1960s, James Garner had cemented his place in television, but in 1963, he made the leap to the big screen in The Great Escape. The World War II epic boasted an ensemble cast of Hollywood's finest: Charles Bronson, Richard Attenborough, James Coburn, and of course, the rising star Steve McQueen. The film told the story of Allied prisoners plotting a daring escape from a German POW camp. Garner's role as Hendley, the clever scrounger, made him a fan favorite, but behind the scenes, not everything was so harmonious. Steve McQueen, already earning a reputation as the king of cool, was determined to steal the spotlight. While Garner charmed both the cast and audiences, McQueen grew increasingly frustrated. He pushed for more lines, more scenes, and more hero moments, even clashing with director John Sturges. At one point, McQueen stormed off set, demanding changes to his character. The tension grew so intense that Sturges briefly considered rewriting the film to center around Garner instead. Garner, ever the professional, turned it down to avoid chaos. Eventually, McQueen got what he wanted. His now iconic motorcycle chase was added to the script, cementing his place in Hollywood legend. But while McQueen looked like the ultimate rebel on screen, off-screen, Garner saw a very different man. Decades later, in his 2011 memoir The Garner Files, James Garner finally spoke openly about his co-star. His words shocked fans. Garner described Steve McQueen as insecure, jealous, and, his exact words, a pain in the neck. He compared McQueen to Marlon Brando, calling him unpredictable and more of a movie star than a true actor. According to Garner, McQueen's performances relied heavily on persona rather than depth. It wasn't just about acting, though. Garner revealed that McQueen often isolated himself, arriving on set in flashy cars and keeping to his private chalet while the rest of the cast bonded. Worse, McQueen's insecurities spilled into paranoia. His then-wife even confided to Garner that McQueen's jealousy strained their marriage. At one point, McQueen even accused Garner of having an affair with her, something Garner flatly denied as baseless. While Garner insisted McQueen wasn't malicious, he saw him as deeply insecure, a man constantly battling fears of being overshadowed. It was a raw and honest look at one of Hollywood's biggest legends. Garner wasn't afraid to tell the truth about Hollywood. In his memoir, he also criticized mogul Jack Warner as one of the rudest men alive and dismissed Charlton Heston as stiff. Even his friendship with Charles Bronson soured after a heated poker game nearly ended in blows. Yet despite the feuds, Garner remained beloved by fans for his honesty, charm, and grounded personality. He was never afraid to admit his flaws, openly talking about past experimentation with substances, his liberal politics, and even poking fun at some of his less-than-great movies. For Garner, authenticity mattered more than image. Of all his roles, none captured Garner's everyman appeal like Jim Rockford in The Rockford Files. Unlike the invincible TV heroes of the 1970s, Rockford was flawed, often broke, and hilariously relatable. His gold Pontiac Firebird and witty answering machine messages became cultural icons. But behind the scenes, the stunts and car chases took a heavy toll on Garner's body. Years of injuries led to multiple surgeries, legal battles with studios, and eventually forced him to step away. Still, he returned for TV movies in the 1990s, proving just how much audiences loved Rockford. Later in life, Garner faced health struggles, heart surgery, a debilitating stroke, and the lingering pain of years of stunt work. Yet through it all, he remained resilient, leaning on the love of his wife, Lois Clark, to whom he was married for nearly 6 decades. When James Garner passed away in 2014 at age 86, Hollywood lost not just a star, but one of its most authentic souls. And as for his rivalry with Steve McQueen, it revealed something bigger than two clashing egos. It showed us the human side of legends, the insecurities, the flaws, and the truth behind the Hollywood myth. So, what do you think? Was James Garner right about Steve McQueen, or do you see McQueen in a different light? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take on this legendary rivalry. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more untold Hollywood secrets. Because sometimes, the stories behind the camera are even more dramatic than the ones we see on screen.